Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. The grand finale has arrived. We are back at the home of British motorsport, this time for the national layout. We did the full GP circuit last time. We are on its shortened version this time for what is going to be a titanic title battle between our main title antagonists. Boland and Barron are separated by 12 points leading into this round, so it's almost winner takes all. There is a little bit of maths going on in the background, but we will get to that in due course. My name is Chris Buxton. I'll be one of your commentators, bringing you the action throughout tonight's festivities. Joining me, as I've had the huge honour and pleasure of being joined in the box by the Scottish star, that is John Munro.
Hello, Chris. It's been a pleasure to be here alongside you as well. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself this season, and as you say, it's finale time. It's Chris Boland versus Adam Barron, the inseparables. Salt and Pepper, Neeps and Tatties, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. They cannot be separated, these two. They come as a pair, and this is going to be incredibly exciting because genuinely either one of them can win this. There's only 12 points in it between the two of them, which means technically it is in both of their hands. If Barron goes out there and wins 2 races, gets 2 fastest laps, he can win the championship. But Boland has the points advantage. Boland is in the driving seat. And but I mean, Silverstone National, Chris, you know what it's like. It's chaos, it's carnage, lots of action points, lots of crashing potential. So it's going to be a very interesting night for us.
I would imagine going into the reverse grid race for this round in particular is when Chris Boland's going to be at his most nervous. There is our points totals. As mentioned, 1,296 and 1,284 after 18 point scoring races. That is all that separates them. That is absolutely incredible. Peter Plastow, whilst on the surface of it looks mathematically likely, mathematically possible, we're pretty sure Peter Plastow cannot take that top spot. He could potentially challenge for that second place if it goes really horribly wrong for the 2Bs up top. But Peter Plastow is fairly secure. Again, he's not out of striking range from Luke Arpino behind. We know how rapid he is in that Porsche. But James King, every week we marvel at how much he's really gotten better and better and better as the weeks have gone on. It was a bit of a rough first half of the season, and it's just been consistent. We enjoyed his company in the commentary box last time for getting his podiums. So he will sit there in 5th position, but he's been chased by Darren Berris and John Finch. It says Peter Finch there, but we're pretty sure it's John Finch. So there ain't a lot there. There's only 80 points between James King and Peter Finch. Or John Finch, call him as you will. And then Tom Stevens, Bradley Kropp, Stu Eatock, rounding out the top 10, separated by less than 100 points between those three. So you've still got championship positions to be decided here tonight.
Yeah, all through the field, not just the top 10, but further down as well. There's plenty of exciting racing to be had. We're, of course, going to be focusing mainly on the top 2. There you can see the Team's Championship as well. Royal Air Force, 2,342 points. Well and truly sealed the Team's Championship for yet another season. Great effort from all involved on that front. British Army, though, sitting strong in P2 with 1,814 points. And then it's the Royal Navy, not too far ahead of the veterans in 4th. So I do wonder if P3 is still potentially up for grabs in the Team's Championship, but it's very clear who the one dominant team have been in this particular season.
Absolutely so. And as a reminder, for the Team's Championship, it is only the 2 top scoring positions of any team that has added to their top score. Yes, the Air Force have had the most numerous representation, but that doesn't mean that that's where their championship dominance has come from. It's because their top 2 drivers, whoever they have been throughout the season, hasn't always been the top, Boland and Barron, but it has been majority that way, granted. But either way, it has been the top 2 scorers throughout the season. Has Ben Cullen reliveried that car? Because I'm not convinced his car was that colour early in the season, because that is a superb livery.
I don't know. I think it looks familiar to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
I thought his car was brown, but no new livery. So no, that's me completely losing the plot. By the way, there is Ben Cullen up into 3rd. So this is the qualifying session now. We have had the practice session, of which, unsurprisingly, the name at the top of this list was at the top of that one as well. But interestingly, Barron is 4th. So So that is not where he would want to find himself, with John Finch in that green Aston currently in second place. So are we seeing not necessarily a changing of the guard, but are we seeing a bit of a shake-up in positions into this final round? Still half the qualifying session to go, though, and with it being such a short lap, less than 60 seconds from end to end, there's still plenty of opportunity for them to get numerous laps in. Chris Boland not done getting his fastest lap done. He's just set the new fastest lap of the session with that 58.557.
Yeah, Boland is looking convincing at the front of the field, not only in practice, but taking over to qualifying as well. As you say, John Finch may be the wild card in there, not usually seen him up in the top two, but with such a short lap, it does come down to very, very fine margins. And all you need to do is get one great lap together, and all of a sudden, you could be right up towards the sharp end. And that's what makes racing around Silverstone National so exciting at the end of the day. It's the sort of race where there will be slipstreaming, there will be pack racing. It's going to be very, very difficult for one driver to get away unless second and third squabble. So that's going to be key for the likes of Adam Barron, who jumps up to P3 now on a 58.754. He's going to need to be in that front group, especially if Boland is heading that group. He's going to need to steal as much slipstream as he possibly can and stick with his main championship rival. But as I say, around here, there are a couple of major overtaking opportunities, especially at the end of the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands. That's where we'll see a lot of action. Also potentially into Beckett's. And not only action in terms of overtaking, but also incidents are very likely around here as well, Chris, because as you know, with championship finales, a circuit like this, tension will be running high and it is very easy to lock up a wheel.
Very, very true indeed. That's the livery I was thinking of. It was the wrong Ben. It was Ben Weston's livery I was thinking of, not Ben Cullen's. So my apologies. Okay, so we didn't even get to start the lap this time. Before we were going to go talk through the lap, but Adam Brown decided to put pay to that. But Etienne Gray, as mentioned, joined us a few races back now. Wasn't with us at the beginning of the season. As we now come into the braking zone, a bit of a slide there coming into Cops, of course, starting at the old start line, which is it was in service for a number of years. Now into Maggots. Now we won't be going through Maggots and Beckers in the normal fashion. We will come into the Maggots hairpin. We wander over to the left-hand side as the speed builds, and then just let the car just slowly glide over to the right-hand side of the Wellington Straight for the next braking zone, which is going to be Brooklands. And it's going to be there just before the 50-metre board. That's very deep, though, for Etienne Gray. Need to hug that inside line. Again, we're probably going to see numerous different lines attacked. Then into the long 180 degree of Luffield. Some people will choose to hug that inside line. Some people will choose to take a later apex for that corner. Kind of a bit more situational, a bit more personal preference. Then you just straddle the line at Woodcote, and then that is a lap of Silverstone National. No improvement in time, but not position for the number 10 Aston at the moment. James King up into second with John Finch in third. So John Finch still hanging on to that top spot. Chris Boland isn't done yet. Another improvement, a few hundredths at a time, but still keeping his stranglehold at the top of the field. But it's this man, James King, that is chasing him this time around. Not this man, Adam Barron, who still finds himself in fourth position. He's only, even if you add up the deltas, he's only a couple of tenths off of Chris Boland, but that's, you never want to be giving Chris Boland anything, a couple of hundredths, let alone a couple of tenths.
I don't know specifics about balance of performance and the speed of the relative cars on iRacing and GT4 at this current moment, but it certainly looks like the Aston Martin's going well around here, the BMW, maybe the Porsche not so strong, Barron down there in fourth, and I don't know where the next Porsche is after him. It might be Steele or Arpino 6th and 7, but it certainly looks like the balance is potentially favouring the kind of gruntier cars, likes of this BMW of James King, who we're seeing now. James potentially on a wheeler once again after making his debut on wheel last time at Brands Hatch, but he's been having a great end to the season, as you've alluded to, and he's putting himself in the front row right now. So it looks as well like all the gaps are so small. You're less than a tenth of a second between the majority of cars. As Pete Plastow, a man I was looking at earlier, jumps up to fourth, puts himself just 1,000th of a second ahead of Adam Barron, and you can see, King's only a tenth off Boland, and then you've got 400s, 300s, 1,000th, 100. It's just such small margins here at Silverstone. One tiny little, degree of steering input different, and you could gain 2 or 3 positions. You could lose 2 or 3 positions. It's just excellent stuff.
Oh, and James King has improved in time and not position, slashing that gap in between himself and this man, Karen bolted it almost in half, just 9 tenths. Etienne Gray gets up into the top 10 with a 59.107. We were riding on board with that number 10 car earlier on, just as Jackie Jiski also then improved. So really the biggest gap we've got is actually from Etienne Gray to Darren Barris, there being 2 tenths of a second. But the whole field is separated by, what, 1.5 seconds, something like that, from top to bottom. Peter Plastow finds another improvement up into third now with that 58.685. Sits half a tenth behind James King and knocks John Finch out of the top 10. That is Darren Barris. We just saw there is James King just about to complete another lap. If you're able to get some slipstream off of anybody, that is surely going to help you, as these two, which is Ben Cullen and James King, we saw James getting a bit of slipstream from Cullen earlier on, and was returning a favour. There's Etienne Gray at the top of the shop with the number 14 Porsche. That is Duncan Steele. It's coming over the line. No improvement on that occasion. We all know this Aston Martin by now. Chris Boland, does he further improve? He does, and without slipstream as well. A 58.517 to reinstate a 10th gap between himself and King.
Yeah, just watch out for Benjamin Cullen as well on this lap. He's had the slipstream from King, so keep one eye on that. Plastow goes P2 though, on a 58.569. He goes 600ths ahead of King. He's still half a tenth behind Boland, and I say that as if it's a big gap. It's half a tenth of a second. It's not much at all. But Benjamin Cullen, he's lost the slipstream of King, so maybe King's got out of the way. Let's see if this is an improvement from him. He's only about a tenth and a bit off the front row here, so let's see what happens when Cullen crosses the line. It's not an improvement. 58.882. He remains in P6 and will continue to fight another day, but this time without the slipstream. So at the moment, Boland on the front row alongside Plastow, the man who's probably been the informed driver of the past few rounds, picking up 3 consecutive race wins recently. You've then got King and Finch on row 2, Barron and Cullen currently on row 3, and then the second and third fastest Porsches, Steele and Arpino, on row 4. So things are very exciting at the moment, but you have to say, judging by the pace advantage over the rest of the field and the fact that he's consistently pumping in purple laps, advantage is with Chris Boland, our current championship leader.
It does seem to be a bit of a Aston army up top. I say there's only 2 of them on the front row, admittedly, but you've then got the next one down, which is Finch. So 3 Astons in those top 4 positions. There is James King, who has been our top BMW runner all season long, flirting with the dust on the exit of Luffield. To come over the line once again, can he improve? Just 600ths to find to get on pace with Peter Plastow. No, I think he's just starting a hot lap here with 2.5 minutes remaining. See who has got what it takes to get up towards the top. Can Adam Barron just find those extra few tenths, which, you know, sounds easy enough, but when the times are so tight, it's finding that extra advantage is so difficult. There is John Finch in what's been my favourite coloured car all season long. No improvement there, so people are really struggling to find those tiny bits of improvement that could make all the difference.
Absolutely. It's tough out there, and it's sometimes you just feel around this circuit. You get one lap without any major mistake and you think that's it, I'm not going to go any quicker, but you have to just persevere. Get back out the pit lane, get back out on circuit, maybe even try and pick up a slipstream, even if it's someone you don't know very well, as long as they're quick enough that you can, slot in a second behind them and not catch them in one lap. It's worth the shot, because those little margins could find you a lot. James King, 58.7 on that lap. He's only got 1.5 minutes left, so potentially 2 more laps on the cards for James King. I also am not sure really about tyre wear and stuff. Are these guys able to do 2 or 3 fully quick laps, or are they having to come in and get new tyres after just one? So it's tricky to know, but we're getting into the important part now. 1 minute and 15 seconds to go, so everyone is on their last lap, or will soon be on their final lap. And will John Finch improve from P4? It's a 58.9, so he's a few tenths off there. And what about Ben Weston, currently in 13th? He crosses the line, but it looks like he's going to start a lap now, so he might actually get 2 more laps in.
So what's this circuit like from a driver's perspective then, John?
This was actually the first circuit I ever raced around in real life, so I did a lot of laps there, a lot of testing, and it has a special place in my heart because of that. But I'll be honest with you, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of Silverstone National. I think that the second half of the lap around Brooklands, Luffield, Woodkit, which we can see Duncan Steele heading into now, is really exciting, really technical, and great for good racing. Copse is a great corner as well. It's just that Maggots-Beckett's complex. For the proper GP layout, Maggots and Beckett's to be so special, and for this version to be so painful and difficult to get on the power, it kind of makes me hate the whole place to drive. However, as a spectator, this is just an awesome place to watch some racing.
Fair enough. Again, I have this is one of the circuits that we've visited during the AFVRC that I have actually commentated at. I was stationed at the Maggots hairpin commentary box, where I realised my head needs to but can't yet turn 360 degrees to be able to commentate on everything that's going on. I quite enjoy this particular layout, but I do understand what you're saying though, John. There is something that is, that Maggots-Beckett's complex is a very, very well famous, but it's a very difficult section to get right. But yeah, there is a particular flow to Silverstone. You can argue there's a flow to every circuit, but if you compare Silverstone, which is completely flat, to what we had at Brands Hatch, which is anything but, the flow is very different, the style is very different, and therefore the way to get the best out of the circuit is very different.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting because, the Grand Prix layout flows so beautifully. And then I think what you find with both the national and the international layout of Silverstone, it's actually the bit that joins the two layouts together. The way I mean that by that is where you cut across in the international to rejoin the second half of the lap, and the same here with Maggots and Beckett's. Those are the bits that feel out of rhythm, out of flow, and to me that's just credit to the circuit designers, because clearly they've designed a place where every single corner that's meant to be like it is feels beautiful and flows brilliantly, because the bits where you have to cross over and just make some sort of secondary fix to something, that's where it starts to feel out of rhythm. So to me it just shows you how good the original design actually is.
Yeah, I would go with that. I totally get what you're saying there. So we're waiting then to proceed to the grid for race number 1. We've had the qualifying session for it. And for those that are just joining us for the first race of the season, you've left it somewhat late, but we welcome your company nonetheless. Once this race is done, go back and watch the rest of them, because you will be treated to some fantastic racing. But it's an all Aston affair up top. Chris Boland and Peter Plastow on the front row. Then it is James King and John Finch. It's not often we've seen John inside the top 5, but that is where his bright green Aston now sits, alongside the BMW King on row 2. Adam Barron, championship protagonist, down in 5th position, which some people would love to start from that particular position, but that could well be disappointing for Adam Barron, starting on the 3rd row alongside Ben Cullen in the 16 car. Then it's Duncan Steele and Luke Arpino on row 4, Darren Berris and Jack Ajewski on row 5, Etienne Gray and Bradley Kropp row 6, with Ben Weston and Eastwood on rounding out the field at the tail end of it. So standing start then. This is when the nerves start to get a little bit tense, especially for us, the select few that are fighting for the championship, John.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the moment where the nerves kick in. Barron has got his work cut out from 5th position, but it'll give him that extra determination. He'll probably feel now that he's got nothing to lose with the pace of Boland. But here we go, lights are on.
Here we go then for the penultimate time in the season. The lights are on. It is time to wind them up and let them go. It looks like it was a decent start initially for King, but he's bogged down. Well, look at Adam Barron. He's already got Finch. He's already got King. That is 3rd. A superb start for the number 5 Porsche. He's already on the back of Peter Plastow. He's having a look, is he? No, he gets that door slammed in his face. He does not want to let Chris Boland get away, but he needs to be sensible. Can't just banzai into a gap that's only going to close. A little bit of a tap was there between himself and Plastow. Now that's going to give the momentum back to James King, as we see Steele and Berry swap round for 6th position. No, Barron has still got the momentum. He's dragging John Finch with him. So still 3rd to Barron. That was a superb start for the Porsche. Oh. He's braked very early. Oh my goodness me, that's gone horribly wrong. As that was the bright green Aston of Finch, who got it all wrong. You saw how far off circuit he was. I said that Barron broke early. He was probably right, but the 2 Astons either side of him had got it all kinds of wrong, and that's put Adam Barron back down into his starting position.
Absolute nightmare for our championship protagonist, because he'd done such a good job. Obviously the Porsche, great off the line, great traction at the rear. He got up to 3rd place. There was a bit of contact with King and maybe Plastow through turns 2 and 3, but it all went wrong for him there heading into Brooklands. I was with you, I thought he'd broken too early, judging by everyone else, but actually I think it was Finch who just went in too deep and made that mistake. Let's see on the replay then. So Finch gets hard on the brakes. King goes to the outside, it just couldn't get it turned. Once they made contact, there was no getting turned. So it's just one of those things. You can't really blame Barron for anything there. You know, Finch was doing his best to avoid the situation, but he was committed. That was it, and it really has scuppered the championship because Jakajewski has made his way up to 3rd position, and there's a massive gap now between them and the top 2, and that means, you know, Boland is in a great position now.
Yeah, that gives him a potential. That's probably the biggest or most comfortable gap he's had all season long as King gets the power down to get on the inside line of Etienne Gray to claim 8th position coming through Luffield. Still side by side, but that's going to be advantage BMW there. There goes Adam Barron on Jakajewski. He wants to try and get back up into a podium as well, which he does on the outside line of Copse. Oh, that's a brave move if ever I saw one. Luke Arpino going for a bit of a exploratory line. Flashing as like as Jakajewski. I'm not quite sure why, but Jakajewski probably enjoyed his time up into the top 3. I think he may well be under a lot of pressure now to try and hang on to it. But 3.3 seconds now separates Barron from the top 2.
Yeah, you can see them disappearing as well into the distance. And from Plastow's perspective, he wants to just run away with Boland here because it gives him a better chance of winning this race. If he can stick with Boland, if those two can gap the rest of the field, use the power of the Aston, and then they can fight for the win later on. So unfortunately for Barron, the top 2 are both going to be thinking the same thing. Let's just get on with it and run away. Barron has got a Jewski to deal with, he's got Arpino to deal with, but I think he's got the pace over both of them. It just depends if he can break that slipstream. Meanwhile, Duncan Steele getting passed down the inside by Kropp. It looks like Bradley Kropp in the second of our BMWs, number 33. Steele's going to hang around the outside though as we head into Copse, and Steele does hang on to the position late on the brakes. He's going to run wide on the exit though, inevitably. In fact, they both do. Kropp just about keeping 2 wheels on the surface, and now it's going to be Steele that slots in ahead before they get into Maggots and Beckett, so that position is secure for now. King on the recovery after being involved in the incident earlier on.
There is Peter Plastow in the tyre tracks of Chris Boland. Now, is he going to challenge or is he going to stay there? I think he's thinking sensibly here. He could have banzaied the inside of Brooklands there. I mean, we've already seen that go wrong when John Finch tried the same move. I do think John Finch just missed his braking point. Now, probably not by a great deal either. But as you say, John, as soon as that contact was made, everybody was just passengers at that point, which made that situation so much worse as we see King being overtaken. Oh, bit of a slide there from the BMW, but James King catches that one as he is challenged by Benjamin Cullen for that 9th position. For 8th position, I beg your pardon, as we see the top 2 getting so close together. It's almost... Yes, there you saw Peter Plastow. He kind of got out of it there. I mean, he had nowhere to go. Oh, is he going to go over the inside line coming through that little link road coming into through Maggots hairpin? But it's a link road between Maggots Beckett and the Wellington Straight. He thought about it. Again, you can't really blame him if the door is left open. He is going to go for it, but because they're not fighting so much, that gap between themselves and Adam Barron and crew is continuing to rise nearly 4 seconds, and both of them will know that. They won't need to communicate between each other. They know how this game works. They know that if they just stay where they are, just keep the fighting to a minimum at this point, and exactly as you say, John, they can fight for top honours a little bit later on. Chris Boland will want that bigger cushion between himself and Adam Barron. Peter Plastow still has every right to fight for the win, but of course if they come together, as we've already seen those come together with Adam Barron earlier on, that could completely turn the championship on its head.
Right. I mean, if Plastow was offered the lead right now on a plate to swap positions, I honestly don't think he'd take it, because we've seen this from him before. We saw at Daytona, Plastow just sat behind Boland for the whole race, waited till his chance to slipstream pass on the final lap, and took the race win. Blinking out for a second, you may be nervous there, but he managed to come back in, thankfully. Oh, he makes a bit of a mistake under braking, getting very close, but I just don't think he needs to push right now. He knows what he can do in the slipstream of Boland. He knows Boland's pace is very good, so if he passes Boland too soon, Boland's just going to get right back past him quite easily. So I think Plastow's playing the waiting game, keeping the pressure on Boland, and he's learning where he's strong, where he's weak, and where he might be able to pounce. Of course, not quite as simple as Daytona. You don't have the entire banking to slipstream back past in the last lap, but you do have places where you can pull alongside. In fact, fastest lap goes to Boland, and that is important because that will mean another championship point at the end of the day if he can hang on to it. Meanwhile, there is Arpino just sticking a nose down the inside of Ajewski. Not quite making it happen there though, and he's under pressure from the other Porsche of Duncan Steele and just behind. This pack has been at it all day, and you can see there Steele weaving around a little bit. We've moved from Cullen in the background on the inside of Crop. We can't quite see because Duncan's car is in the middle, but it looks like Crop's hung on for the meantime ahead of the Benjamin Cullen car. Yes, he has. So it's still Arpino, Steele, Crop, Cullen and King. And that's how the positions remain now. Another overtaking opportunity into Brooklands. This time it looks like Crop's going slightly defensive on Benjamin Cullen, I should say, but he's actually at the same time attacking Steele. It's all just keeping an eye on the mirror, but also keeping an eye out front. It's impossible. You need 4 eyes to be able to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not an enviable position to be in when you're trying to improve your own position, but you've got the headlights of someone very, very close in your rearview mirror. You know they're there. You're basically just doing your own thing in a manner of speaking. You can't just ignore the fact that they're there if they do commit to a move, but you then have to just bear in mind where you're positioning yourself relative to the people you're attacking. Top 2, still, they're not so much working together, but they're not working against each other. And that gap now 4.5 seconds. Oh my goodness me. Arpino and Steele side by side as they are now coming down the Wellington straight. Now, if the 14 Porsche can stay there, he might have an advantage into Luffield. As behind them, that is Crop and Cullen that are side by side as well. The Mercedes has the inside coming into Brooklands. Can't quite get it done. Arpino slightly wrong-footed. Steele's ahead of the blue and black Porsche, but that is a bit wide for Cullen. No, there's that door open for Bradley Crop. Not quite. Oh, it's all action in for the midfield positions. Whilst our championship, I say championship pair, but they're not quite together. But you know what I mean. As far as position-wise, they're not that far apart. But on track, they may as well be in a different county with the championship difference that will make. But the fight for 4th with this many cars is absolutely superb. As that's Arpino again. Oh, with Duncan Steele breaking slightly out of rhythm to the rest. That kind of woke up the 2 behind them. And there is King who wanted to get involved as well.
This is exactly what I love about Silverstone National. I know I said I wasn't a big fan of driving it, but I love watching it, and this is why. Because look at this action, it's incredible stuff. To race around side by side into all these corners is so good. Steele deep on the brakes, but Ajewski hangs on for P4 at the moment. You can see they're Cullen in the middle, Arpino on the outside. It's just epic to watch these GT4 cars come around here, and they're all so close in performance. I did notice the last lap at Copse that absolutely nobody fancied even a taste of the apex, so let's see what happens this time. Meanwhile, Boland is just stretching his legs a little bit. He's gained another 10th on Plastow on this particular lap, so we'll keep one eye on that gap. We're going to head into Copse here 2 wide. Let's see what happens on the way, and it's Steele in the compromised position. Cullen round the outside. Look at James King as well. He's going to get forced out wider though by Steele. And Barris getting into the mix as well now too. Barris on the back of Crop. He goes down the inside, which will become the outside and become the inside once again as they turn right here. And then you've got Steele alongside King. In fact, I can't keep up, Chris. I'm going to have to go for a nap.
Yeah, there's so much going on as Cullen has managed to get ahead of Ajewski, but here we see Darren Barris having a go at James King. It's been difficult to tell sometimes if they're alongside from the camera angles. Is that going to be 3 wide as we ride on board with the number 40 Aston Martin coming into Brooklands once again? King has the inside line. Darren Barris hanging on because he wants the inside for Luffield, which he now has. Can he get alongside? Can he get ahead? He knows he's ahead of the BMW, but can he complete the move? He gives necessary racing room with Bradley Crop right behind. The pressure's still on the Aston. It looks like he has managed to get the move done. That's 8th for Darren Barris.
Excellent stuff, and then the BMW blinking behind him, which won't make it easy to defend, but he's got it settled, and he'll just be looking to continue his way forward here in this big group. Being an Aston Martin as well, it seems to be going well around this circuit. There you can see Arpino to the outside of Ajewski, so this is for P5. Cullen's made his move up to P4 as well previously. Arpino might go in too deep here. In fact, Ajewski might have gone the brakes too early. He's going to turn in, but Steele's nose is there, and they make a little bit of contact, but get away with it. This is where you need to watch the BMWs and Barris behind, because, surprise, surprise, they're all side by side once again. So let's see what happens now into Brooklands as we now head Steele down the inside of his Mercedes rival, and Ajewski runs a bit wide, leaves him the room. Barris on Crop as well. King's gotten past both of them. It's like an MX-5 race here, and now it's going to be Ajewski on the inside of Steele. They're both going to run wide, and Barris comes through on both of them, so Barris continues to make progress. Guys, give each other room, and that is unfortunately what happens when the 2 on the outside don't realise that they're 3 wide, and King is the unfortunate victim there who spins off. But what an amazing battle between those guys. It's a shame it ended there and then, because that was just superb.
There it was. Duncan Steele didn't really have anywhere to go from what we could see. Unfortunately, just James King tripping over his nose. That's such a shame. That really is going to drop him a long way down the field, but there is still the second race as Darren Berris gets into the back of Jackie Jewski, and then Bradley Kropp nearly gets into the back of Darren Berris. So that could have gone horribly wrong. Let's have a look at that incident again. So he's got Steele in the black and white portion on the outside line. There's an impact between again, Steele did turn slightly to the right, but he didn't turn very hard into King. He's got to have some room there, but we'll see if that goes to the stewards post event. But the outcome is still what it is. James King now 10 seconds behind the pack he previously was in. A great shame for that battle to end the way it is. With these two still poised to have a go at one another. Darren Berris now has a go with Jackie Jewski for 6th position. Oh no, they come together as well, as that is another car off into the dust, backwards into the wall. Oh, that's such a shame. Darren Berris having a really good run. That's sadly coming to an end.
Yeah, that was a real shame. Berris had made the move, and Ajewski thought he was clear. Berris missed his apex, though, and that's why that happened. So Ajewski thought he was going to turn in, and Berris wasn't going to be there, but he was. So it's just unfortunate. Just one of those things, and Berris pays the price. To be honest, with the previous incident as well with King, I'd call it as a bit of a racing incident, because even though there was a bit of movement from the car behind, King also moved a bit to the left, and they were, as I say, they were three wide pretty much. And in that situation, unless you know exactly where all two of your rivals are and you're aware that they are three wide, it's very difficult to make extra allowances for that. So just a bit of a shame the way it turned out. But honestly, I think the drivers will have really enjoyed that scrap while it lasted, and it's the end of the season, so hopefully tempers aren't too high. And Berris will also live to fight another day. Of course, a reverse grid to think about for race 2. And one eye on that lead battle as well, Chris. This is where Plastow needs to make a move if he's going to. He just got the gap down to 2 tenths. It's now up to 4 tenths, now back to 3 tenths. They're miles ahead of Barron, so this race is entirely between the front two for the win now. Further down the pack, we've still got battles. Here's Steele looking at Ajewski to try and make his way up to 8th place. Ajewski defence is starting to wane slightly now. He did a great job to hang on to that top 5 earlier on, but he's just beginning to drop back after a few bits of contact. But I think he'll be happy with his race regardless.
Absolutely. So as we now look at the battle for 6th position that now only has 2 cars in it, which is Bradley Kropp and John Finch. Into Brooklands, the BMW hugs that inside line. The Aston Martin follows in the Beamer's tyre tracks. Now through Luffield, which I can confirm is a fantastic place to watch any kind of racing. You get a great soundbox effect in Luffield. I thoroughly enjoyed being there in 2018. I got utterly burnt to a crisp, but loved every second of what I saw. We have a look at Duncan Steele, still on the back of Jackie Jewski. Their battle for 8th position has not abated at all. So the monochromatic pair continuing their argument for currently 8th. They've 1.7 seconds off the battle for 6th, so they're not likely to challenge for that in the next few minutes. Oh, Steele having a think about the inside line coming into the Maggotts hairpin. That door is being closed. There is our top 2. The Aston pair have been in a league of their own, but the pace advantage has been with Boland. He's going to start the final lap this time around. Peter Plastow, we know he's got pace. We know how heavy his right foot is. He's getting close. Could he challenge for that top spot?
He certainly could, but will he be able to? That's the question. 58.9 and 58.7 for the two of them. I think Boland's still got fastest lap, so right now it's an 11-point swing towards Boland for this championship. He will extend his lead up to 13 points, but can he hold on to this win? Because Plastow is looking super racy, super competitive behind. He goes in pretty deep there, Boland, I think. Will he make the apex? Of course he will. He knows what he's doing. And has to be said, though, Plastow made it even better and got a better exit, and now he's going to have the slipstream. So this is going to be the key moment. Chris, we head towards Brooklands. Who is going to win this race?
Oh, Boland is nailed to the inside. I would say that the advantage is still with Boland, but Plastow's gone for the outside line. He wants the inside for Luffield. He knows that's going to be the potential race winner, but he's gone in too deep at Brooklands. Boland fended off the advances of Plastow. Unless Boland makes a horrendous mistake now, the win is going to go his way. Of course he doesn't make a mistake. We know how good he is. So your winner for race number 1 in our final week's racing for this season goes to the number 86 of Chris Boland. Peter Plastow did what he could, but could not dethrone the mighty Boland. Adam Barron, with that recovery drive, does come home in 3rd, but that makes his job for race 2 to try and secure the championship that much more difficult. Ben Cullen up into 4th, Luke Arpino 5th, Bradley Kropp in 6th, with John Finch 7th, Jackie Jewski comes home in 8th, Duncan Steele 9th, James King, oh, what might have been for him. He will round out the top 10. But once again, a bit more frantic than we usually see in race number 1. It's usually race 2 we see the see the spins and the spills. But, well, if that's how race 1 goes, this could be somewhat anarchistic, but I doubt so. We've had some brilliant racing from our pack in both races all season long. I expect tonight to be no different.
Yeah, 100%. And it was a great race. It was really unfortunate about the incident early on, to be fair. But we'll talk about that in a little second, because I think, Chris, it's time for the final time this season to get that wheel spun.
Random Production, spin the wheel for the final time in this season. So this will decide how many positions from our top 12 are reversed for race number 2. And it's going to be... It's looking like it's going to be 11. It is. So 11 of our 14 competitors, that's obviously the top 11, will have their finishing position from race 1 reversed. Wow, that's going to put Boland a long way back. He would have probably wanted that to be as small as possible for this race, but that is the nature of the beast. Obviously, his main target is Adam Barron, irrespective of how many positions back he is. Well, I think it's time we have a chat with our podium 3. This is going to be interesting. Let's grab our third place Porsche, which is going to be the one and only Adam Barron. Adam, are you with us?
Good evening, gents.
Oh, let's get the elephant out of the room first, shall we? Brooklands, lap 1. As much as you're allowed to say what went through your mind at that particular moment, keep it nice and friendly, PG friendly and all that. But you must have had a few words running through your head at that point.
I think it's the second race in a row now that I've been caught up in someone else's incident when I really didn't need to be. It had a rocket start, absolutely fantastic start, and I thought, okay, we might have a chance here. And then, obviously he just completely bow-break himself, but he managed to... I saw him coming diving down the inside, and I tried to avoid him, and obviously he just lost the toe, put me down to 5th. Good battle back to 3rd, but by that point, they were gone. I think those two were genuinely quicker than me anyway, but I think it would be a case of what could have been, really, if I was up with them. I think it would have been interesting, but c'est la vie.
C'est la vie, indeed. Well, you're not completely out of it, Adam. You were only 12 points trailing coming into this into tonight's festivities. Obviously, with finishing 3rd behind Pete and then Chris in respect. Does widen that gap a little bit, but it is top 11 this time that have been reversed. So that starts you in 9th, and with the start that you had last time around, it doesn't rule you out. But is it a case of just right foot and go with it, or are you still keeping a mind on the championship?
I think I've just got to go for this point. I've got to try and finish as many places ahead of Chris and Pete really as possible. So obviously the start is going to be a rolling start, so I'm going to lose that advantage there. So we're just going to have to try and pick our way through the field and see what's what come the end of it. But I think I'm the underdog, but I'll give it all my best.
Very much looking forward to it. You've never failed to entertain us, Adam, and I really enjoy in prospect for race number 2, the very last race of season 4. Best of luck for that. Thank you very much, Adam Barron.
Thank you, gents.
Go on, John. Your choice next.
Right, we'll speak to Pete Blastow, the man who absolutely nailed 2nd place in that race, but just couldn't quite take the win in the end. Are you with us, Pete?
Yes, yeah. Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you. And let's start with lap 1, because it's fair to say the chaos pretty much ensued directly behind you. So talk us through that from your perspective.
Well, I was just keeping an eye on the mirrors. I know Adam was right behind me after turn 1. And then it was just a case of staying clean and in front of the carnage, which I was quite happy to see in my mirrors and not being part of.
And I was assuming, based on what happened on lap 1, you were behind Chris. We know Chris has got the pace around here based on qualifying. Am I right in thinking you were pretty happy to just sit in 2nd until the last few minutes?
After that, it was a case of building a gap to Adam and not fighting Chris too hard, so that we could pull away a little bit. And then if an opportunity presented itself, which it almost did on our last lap, then I would try and take it. That was the plan, and didn't quite come off, but I'm pretty happy with 2nd place.
And obviously, coming into the last round of the season now, the last race, you're not quite in contention for the actual championship, but you're still in with a shout of a very strong shout of a top 3 here. So just talk us through your season as a whole. How have you enjoyed the experience, and how have you found it from start to finish?
Oh, it's been an awesome season. This is my first full season in this league, so I've really enjoyed it. I did the last couple of races, I think, of the last season, and I was really invested after that. and I think the racing's been great. My second races have let me down a little bit this season, so hopefully I can build on that for the next one.
That's
And
it. You've
be
got
challengers for the championship.
one last chance to put that second race problem behind you, and then hopefully build on stuff for next season. So we wish you the best of luck for race 2. We look forward to seeing you fight through from 10th on the grid, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So Chris, do you want to take our race winner, Chris Boland?
Certainly shall. The race dominator from start to finish yet again. The man who shares my initials, so always a special affinity there. Chris Boland, are you with us?
Good evening.
Wow. That could not have gone any better, but you must have been aware of the fact that you had, not for the first time this season, that black and red Aston staring into your soul. You must have been aware that he was there. Was it just a case of, right, let's just go through the turns until the last few minutes? Or was it always that thought of, he might have a go here?
Yeah, that was literally picking up from where we left Brands Hatch GP. That was 20 odd laps worth of qualifying laps then, so I'm a bit sore after that. That was quite intense. But yeah, I was giving it everything I had. The first 4 or 5 laps, the car just didn't want to behave, and then probably the last 4 or 5 laps, it was the tyres were starting to go off a little bit. I knew Pete would be sensible and probably stick behind me for the first bit of the race, and then maybe have a look, but it's always in the back of your mind. And then when it came to the last couple of laps, I thought, yeah, he's definitely going to have a go here at some point.
Once again, you kept your cool and kept the lead, and thus the win. So you'll be starting from 11th this time at really quite a crucial point, I think it's fair to say, in the season. I'm guessing you're just going to be keeping an eye on that familiar Porsche that you've been dueling with all season long. Do you approach this race any differently to any other?
No, I think we've seen throughout the season that anything can happen. I know it's a bit of a cliche. But yeah, I'll probably be keeping one eye on what people are doing, but I think as soon as you take your eye off too much and start looking at things like that, that's when mistakes start to creep in. So I'll try and keep focused.
And how have you enjoyed the season thus far? You've had a fairly consistent, but not always front-running scores. Generally not your own fault, of course, but you've always been either in the podium or podium contention. Were you confident you were going to be in those kind of positions at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, quietly confident. I've raced quite a lot of GT4s on real life racing events as such, so I know the car well. I know I've got some relatively good pace in it. Obviously, it's a bit of a shame that Stu could only do about half the season, because I felt as soon as we were getting towards Alton Park that I was within a couple of tenths here and there of Stu, so it would have been quite nice to actually try and rein him in a little bit and have a few good battles with him. But that's the way it goes with service life. Unfortunately, he's unfortunately had to miss it.
Absolutely, sir, which we are always eternally grateful for all of your services to the forces. So then, 11th place, we'll let you get ready to start the final race of the season. One hand on the trophy. We'll see if the other one joins it in when that final checkered flag falls. Well done on another win, and best of luck for the final race. Thank you very much, Chris Boland.
Thanks, Chris.
Right then, John Munro, we've got that lovely anxious wait that we both absolutely hate. But it's necessary for the server to be formed, the drivers to join, and therefore the grid to be built. So as a reminder, the top 11 finishers from race 1 will be reversed to form the grid for race 2, which gives us a grid of what, Mr. Munro?
Well, I'll give you the grid, and then I'll give you some permutations. Commentators' favourite things to do, championship finale. So, first of all, the grid. So, Darren Barris should be on pole position from James King, with Duncan Steele and Jack Ajewski on row 2, so they should resume their battle. Then you've got John Finch and Bradley Crop on row 3, Luke Arpino and Benjamin Cullen on row 4, with Barron and Plastow 9th and 10th, and Boland in 11th place. And then to round off the whole grid, you'll have Etienne Gray in 12th, Stuart Eastwood in 13th, and then Ben Weston in 14th. So that's your grid. But permutation time is actually very interesting, and it's fairly simple, to be honest. Because of the way the drop scores work, basically, if Adam Barron doesn't win this race, if Adam Barron finishes second, Boland actually wins the championship anyway. Basically the way it works is Boland's fourth worst score, and there's four scores that are dropped in this championship. Even if Boland has an absolute howler, a DNF, doesn't matter where he finishes, he'll still recover his fourth worst score, which is 74 points. And that would mean if Barron didn't win, that lead would be unassailable anyway. So essentially, Adam Barron needs to win. If he doesn't win, Chris Boland is our champion. If Adam Barron does win, whether it's with fastest lap or not, Chris Boland, by my maths, is going to need to finish 6th or higher to win the championship. Now, that's unofficial because it's my maths, so let's not take that completely 100%, but if I am correct, that's your key number. So if Barron wins, Boland needs to finish 6th or better, so that's what we've got to look forward to.
Well, looking back at the last few kind of second races, it has been a bit mixed for Chris Boland. So, I mean, the second race at second race at Snetterton did not go well for Chris Boland at all. But before then, it was podium, it was fourth, it was podium, and then before that, it was mixed. So, even though Chris Boland is always kind of worried about the second race outcome, understandably, certainly at this particular stage in the season, the previous form would indicate that he is going to do pretty well. But like you say, it's Adam Barron. It just has to throw caution to the wind, and that is, from when we spoke to him, that is exactly what he plans to do. Yeah. However, we know that it can be a little bit chaotic in those first few turns of the first lap of a reverse grid race. So, it's who's your money on? It's safe bet would be Boland, but Barron can do it. He can absolutely do it.
For me, Boland is a safe bet for the championship at 95%, because not only does Barron have to get from 9th up to win this race, and he clearly doesn't have the full pace of the couple of Aston Martins he's fighting with, but also even if he does win, Boland just needs to be somewhere near or thereabouts. So at the end of the day, if for championship wise, it's got to be on Boland. What's different here is, I guess, the race itself, because they're coming from so far back in this field. Even though it's a place you can overtake and you can follow well, it's going to be very difficult for them to make their way all the way through. We did see on lap 1 of the previous race, Jack Ajewski making his way up to P3 on the first lap. So we know it can happen. You can get a good start, stay out of trouble, and find yourself towards the front of the field, a la Esteban Ocon at Hungary, for example. It can happen. And that's pretty much the only situation I can see where Barron's got a chance at this championship. I'm mincing my words today. But yeah, if Boland obviously has a DNF or a bad race, Barron just needs to get all the way through. And it is possible, but I just think it's highly unlikely. Who's my money on for this race? To be honest, possibly our pole sitter, Darren Berris. He has a lot of pace in that Aston Martin. He had a bit of contact which put him into the wall in that previous one, but we saw how well he was fighting through the field. So we know his pace was better in the race than it was in qualifying. And being right at the front of the field here, I think Darren Berris has got a very, very good chance.
Well, production have just let us know who their prediction is. And a good shout as well, in the form of James King, our god of the BMWs. It's a great shout for race win, as we are now transitioning towards the grid. He does start alongside Darren Berris on that front row, so it is certainly doable. It's all going to be down to who survives, which again is an obvious statement to make. But when you have got quite a significant percentage, well, 3/4 indeed, of the grid reversed, you are going to have those that are out of place to the pace of those behind them, as is the nature of reverse grid. Personally, I love them from a driver's and a commentary perspective. I love reverse grid races, but as Adam Barron somewhat was subjected to, it doesn't have to be your mistake that you're subjected to. It can be someone else missing their braking point or getting a boot on the backside that they're not prepared for that ruins your race. We will be finding out very, very shortly. So it's a full lap behind the safety car. Not that the lap's very long, as we know, so that isn't going to take particularly long to go through. But James King, Darren Berris on that front row, Aston alongside BMW. Then it is Steele, Ajewski, Porsche and Mercedes that is behind them. Finch and Arpino, another Aston and a pair of Astons indeed. No, sorry, hang on about it's Aston Porsche, isn't it? Then it is Crop and Barron with Cullen Boland. I think they're all swapping around. It's difficult to read the grid on the actual rolling lap. But Boland and Plastow on the 10th and 11th position, with Eastwood, Gray, and Weston starting in the positions they finished last time around. Was there any particular method you used to try and focus and deal with the nerves, John, when you were in this position?
It's a very good question, and probably something that I should have paid attention to. I've just heard from Steve in my ear. He suggested a wee dram, but I'm not that kind of Scotsman, not before a race. But yeah, it's certainly a moment where you need to get concentrated. You need to be ready for the first lap. But I'm quite a relaxed person. I tend to chat a lot during my races. Some people are silent, so there's different ways of going about it. But right at this moment, you forget all of the stress, you forget all the tension. It's all about that first lap and making up those positions.
See, I was always the reverse. I was such a nervous starter. I overthought absolutely everything. But then I'm not a sim racer, and for good reason. That I'm far better positioned in the commentary box. So when the lights come on, we all start to race once again. Here we go. We are racing for the final time in Season 4. And for the final time here in Silverstone, it's lots and lots of side-by-sides. Oh, bit of bumping and barging going on. A little bit further. Whoa, that's a spin. Who is that that's fallen down the field?
Ajewski.
It was Ajewski that has fallen down. All I could see was smoke, so I couldn't actually tell who it was. But Barris and King have gotten away scot-free. Then it is Finch, Arpino, Barron, Crop, Boland, Cullen, Steele, Plastow, your top 10. So far so good for most of the field, but it wasn't the Jack Ajewski who fell foul of lap 1.
Yeah, obviously a little bit of contact on the exit of Cops that we maybe didn't see. We're probably going to see a replay of it now, actually. I saw Finch got a great start in the green Aston. I wonder if it's him that made contact? Yes, it was. So, yeah, Finch was pinched essentially to the inside. He tried to stay as far to the inside as he could, and Ajewski just came across a little bit. Maybe they met in the middle. Difficult to see without an onboard, but again, just one of those, very difficult from one viewing to assign full blame there to either driver. But Finch has definitely lost time once again to the front two. Darren Barris and James King, the two predictions for the race win here, are up there. But I tell you what, Adam Barron's in 5th, Boland's currently in 7th. So Barron just needs to do his part. He needs to get up and past Arpino as quickly as possible. Past Finch, who has been apologising after that first race incident. So I don't think we'll see Finch fight Barron too hard. And then he's got to get his head down and catch the lead too. Easier said than done. And there's Boland. Now Boland's job is just to follow Barron through.
Yeah, that's all he needs to do. Boland basically needs to stay where he is. But he won't. You know he's going to push for every point he can possibly get, side by side, right behind them with Ben Cullen and Bradley Kropp. So will the Mercedes be able to hang on all the way around Brooklands? He wants the inside for Luffield, does manage to get that one done, so that should be position gain for the Mercedes. But then right through is Peter Plastow. We can see the nose of the Aston just coming out of the tower. He's not going to have the momentum on the exit of Luffield. So no gain there for the red and black Aston. But looking further up, Darren Barris is he had the fastest lap very briefly, and then predictably he went to Chris Boland, who is staying in the tyre tracks of his arch nemesis for the entire season. Exactly what he needs to do. Adam Barron needs that win and needs that Aston to be outside of the top 6. Anything can still happen, but at the moment, it's advantage Boland, although he gets a bit uncomfortable getting into the Maggot's hairpin. Alongside him is Ben Cullen in the Mercedes, but I think he's just about managed to get the horses galloping early enough to maintain that 6th place.
Yeah, bit of nerves coming through, bit of tension for Boland. Maybe I'm just ramping up unfairly, but he definitely looks like he's got it under control. But that wasn't a very Barron-esque mistake there. But he managed to hold on to the position. That's the main thing. I say Barron, I meant Boland, of course. Stays in P6. He's got Cullen on behind him, but Cullen is a race winner earlier this season, so he's definitely going to stick with it. Meanwhile, we're side by side for the lead, and that's really helped the guys behind, because now Barris and King are going at it. Finch has been brought back into things with the fastest lap of the race there, 58.8. This could actually be John Finch's day here. He wants to take a race win. We know how quick he was based in qualifying on the first race, and he's right up there in this lead battle with a fast Aston Martin, so he's definitely going to be one to watch here. But all this helps Barron. It just brings this battle together, so it's not fully over just quite yet. Obviously, aside from the championship battle, we've got an amazing race in our hands regardless, so we'll make sure we enjoy that too. But it's Arpino that's the next target for Barron. They're all line astern. You can see side by side in the background it's Kropp and Plastow. We saw Plastow getting sideways out of left field earlier on, but he's kind of trying to control his Aston Martin, get it back into a rhythm and make his way through the field, because we know that Plastow's pace should see him finish higher than P8.
Absolutely true. Switching back to the lead there, Barris from King from Finch, your top 3. Aston, BMW Aston. Then it is the pair of Porsches of Arpino and Barron that round out that field of 5. Now, who is going to be the victor here? They're all on a fairly similar pace. It's going to be a case of who basically makes the mistake first, judging by what we've seen. Adam Barron is taking a bit more of a conservative route. He hasn't got long to stay there. He's got time on his side for now, but he cannot just let the laps tick by and go for things at the last minute, especially now that he's got his arch rival of Chris Boland right behind him with a bit of a touch of the grass there from the Porsche. That's given the momentum to Chris Boland. Outside line coming down towards Brooklands. Can the Porsche do anything about it? Can he outbrake the Aston? No. Is there a touch there? Not quite. Well, there may have been. It was impossible to tell from there, but Chris Boland may well have gone a little bit too deep. Couldn't hold the line. And that is gifted 5th back to Adam Barron.
Really not sure if there was or wasn't a touch there. It was so close, but what has to be said there, Barron did a good job to control that Porsche under braking and make sure he didn't make big contact with Boland, because that would have obviously not been great given the circumstances. We know how much pace Boland's got around here though, around Silverstone, and I think it's more than Barron's got, and that's unfortunate for Adam. There you can see there he runs a bit wide. No, doesn't look like there was contact. It looks like the Aston just got a little bit sideways all on his own, and I had to drop back in behind Barron. Meanwhile, change of the lead because King nips down the inside of Barris, who missed his apex, into Beckett's, and it's also going to be a chance for Finch to take advantage too. But look at the power of that Aston Martin. Barris gets back on it. You can see the gap coming down on the top left of your screen, so he's going to have the inside line now as we head into Brooklands, and Barris should, if he gets it stopped, reclaim the lead. Can King hang around the outside? He can. He keeps his nose there, so King's now going to have the inside into Luffield. It's just touch and go stuff from these two, but there's lots of respect, plenty of room being left, but no more than is needed. And out of this, Barris actually retains the lead, so his mistake at Beckett's, he managed to get away with it and end up back in P1. Great stuff between the lead two.
Oh, Ruth, that was close. I was expecting there to be a bit of a tangle, but no, they managed to keep out of each other's boots. Oh, as Boland again is applying the pressure to Barron. Adam Barron saying that he thought the Astons had the pace advantage here. Certainly was proven in race 1, but he's doing a great defensive job here in race number 2. Peter Pastel's made a mistake. He's down to 12th now by a couple of seconds. And now King on the attack once again. He has been on the podium before. He was denied the race win earlier in the season, was the BMW. Is today his day? We saw Finch thinking about getting into that top spot, but again, Darren Barris just getting the braking done properly into Brooklands and then gets that position back for Luffield. Well, we're seeing the different characteristics between the BMW and the Aston, where each car is stronger, and at the moment, by pixels difference, it is advantage Barris.
It's so good. We could well see a new winner here today, for sure, because we haven't had a win yet for King, we haven't had a win for Finch, and we haven't had a win for Arpino either. Darren Barris, the only one of this top 4 that's won a race this season, and he's in prime position right now, but it doesn't look like he's got the pace to pull away from these guys. That's why it's remaining so close. Cullen's on the back of Boland again, so it's worth keeping an eye on. Boland's not making the progress he needs to. He's in his championship winning position of 6th, but obviously, there's a lot of work Barron needs to do to get further up. I'm not sure he's going to do it, but Boland would like to have just a little bit more of a buffer in case things really do kick off right at the front of the field. And you can see there it's Cullen actually who's on the attack in the Mercedes, so Cullen's going to look down the inside. Is he going to make the move? Yes, he is. Is he going to go in too deep? No, he gets it stopped. Super move there, and Boland did not want to take any risks, did he? He's quite happy to lose that position down to P7. Which would result in this race essentially being a drop score anyway for Boland. So in some ways he's got nothing to lose. We see contact for the lead. It is kicking off at the front. That's going to bring Barron into play. But Finch takes P2, Arpino up to 3, and King down to P4. Now they're going to be side by side for the lead into Cops. So keep your eyes peeled for how this one comes out, because I tell you what, Barron's getting closer to the lead.
He is. I mean, that was a great move that we saw from Ben Cullen. If Barron makes his way up and takes the win, that could actually put the championship potentially in the Porsche's hands. But we will see. We've still got another, we've got 7 minutes to go before that is decided. 6.5 or so if you're picky. But look at this, Arpino on the outside of Barron. You've got Cullen now thinking about trying to get up the field even further. We're right on board with Adam Barron as he tries to close the door to Benjamin Cullen. Gets on the inside line, but he can't utilise any additional pace as he's blocked off by Arpino. King on his inside line. He's got nowhere to go. He wants to try and desperately work his way through the field, but everyone, again, doing exactly what they need to do. but it is not helping Adam Barron in the slightest. Side by side with King following that big moment last time around, which dropped King out of the attacking position for the lead. And she just about manages to fend off Adam Barron coming into Copse and hangs on to that 4th place.
Yeah, the quality of the field is just too high for Barron at the moment, and now Boland's coming back into it down the inside of Cullen, which could be a crucial move as well. They get pretty close. Barron defends the inside, which blocks Cullen. Maybe gives Boland the upper hand, but no, Boland cannot carry the speed around the outside. A mistake for King there on the exit of Beckett, so that could bring Barron in front of him. Meanwhile, for the lead, it's Aston versus Aston. It's Finch versus Barris, and I think Finch is hungry for this race win. He's going to make the move down the inside. No, he's going to get blocked off, which gives Arpino a bit of a run. King's going to run wide, and it makes contact and with Barron, and now Barron is into Cullen as well. So it's just chaos throughout the entire field, but just great stuff to be watching here. King just does not want to give up on that 4th position, and quite rightly, Barron gets a bit of sideways action on the exit, and that's going to bring Cullen once again in. A flash of the lights as well from the Porsche driver. And now it's going to be Cullen to the outside, which is going to compromise Barron's run. With 5 minutes to go now, it's looking like it could be Boland's championship, but anyone's race win.
Absolutely so. Benjamin Cullen, that's a pretty unenviable position to be in. He's got both championship contenders either side of him. As it's Boland again, he looks for the outside coming into Maggots, but he wants the inside line of the Maggots hairpin. He's boxed in behind Boland, which has actually given the momentum advantage back to Ben Cullen. So Ben Cullen now tucks up in the slipstream with the Porsche, goes to the outside line towards Brooklands. So, my God, whilst they're fighting, they're dropping themselves away from that lead battle. Now, side by side, Mercedes against Porsche. Can Barron hold on to it? It's supreme in the corners, and the Mercedes has to yield.
The Mercedes has the grunt, doesn't it? The Porsche's got the traction, and it's just using that when you can. Barron can't use his traction everywhere if he's stuck up behind someone, but when he gets in clean air, he can really use that corner speed. More light flashing from Benjamin Cullen, not quite sure why, we haven't seen anything untoward. Fastest lap of the race, meanwhile, to James King in P4, and it looks like with all of that battling going on for P5, the front 4 have managed to break away slightly. We see how quickly it comes back together, so this doesn't mean anything in terms of the final result, but Finch will certainly be looking to make a move on Barris soon with a couple of laps to go. Fair play to Arpino as well. He's really made his way up through this field as well. He was sitting down in P5 at one point, and now he's comfortably up in the top 3 and looking particularly racy in that Porsche as well. Let's not count out King either. I mean, as I say, it's still fully up for grabs. I just don't know if Barron's got the pace. But the front 2 are going to go side by side once again into Brooklands. It's become normal by this point, but Finch leaves the door very wide open, goes for a good exit, can't quite use that space because Arpino, or King was it, sticks his nose in there anyway, and there's an opportunity for Barron. Through he goes on Arpino and up into P4.
That's Arpino. He's lost 2 positions there. Oh, slightly wide on the edge of the Luffield. King banzai the inside of Luffield there. Firm but fair move then from the BMW, puts him back into podium contention. My goodness me, this is absolutely thrilling stuff from basically our top 9, really, because Crop and Steele aren't far off the back. There's the BMW. Didn't quite see the Porsche in that shot. But yeah, Boland knows he doesn't have to do anything at the moment because Barron is not in a championship winning position. Whether Boland realises that or whether he's just simply staying close to Barron, we don't know, but he's certainly staying in position good enough to put the championship in his hands as they are side by side. That is Arpino and Cullen coming down into Brooklands. That Mercedes trying to get another position and does so. Very nicely done. Barron on King for 3rd place, side by side. Who's going to win out here? The BMW a little bit wide. Porsche with that traction where it's had the advantage all night long, does nose up into 3rd, but still side by side as they come towards Copse once again.
If my maths is correct, this is where Boland should begin to get nervous because Barron is into the top 3 and all it takes now is one close move between the front 2. They lose a bit of time, they run wide, and suddenly Barron could win this race. If he does, Boland is not in position. He needs to get this move done on Arpino to give himself that security, but I'm just not convinced he's got it in this race. He's got the pace. Maybe he's just driving nervous. I'm not sure. He's going to have to keep one eye on his mirror as well because he's got Bradley Cropp in just behind and Duncan Steele. So this move for P6 could be crucial still for Boland because Barron is only half a second off a race win here.
Luke Arpino is not obliged to give the position to Boland at all. He holds on to the inside of Brooklands and defends that advance from Chris Boland fairly successfully. Bradley Cropp is in position to try and attack the 86 Aston as well. So yes, it's oh my goodness me! All bets are off at this point. Barrett still holds on to the lead from Finch. This would, if the race were to finish now, this would be Finch's first podium of the season, I think. No, beg your pardon, he has been on the podium once before, I believe. That would be Silverstone. Oh, last time we were here. He managed to get a third position as Boland has a look on the inside of Arpino once again, as Barron is now tucked up behind the rear wing of Finch. This is going to be when they cross the line, it'll be the start of the final lap. Do or die, all or nothing, feast or famine.
The championship's on here. I can't believe I'm saying this after what we saw earlier in this race. All Boland had to do was stick with Barron. He's not managed it, but he's going to have to get these moves done quickly because the next lap will be the final lap. So Barron needs to get this done now. On Finch, he looks to the inside, there's contact, and that puts Barron up into P2, but will it be at the expense of a penalty? Because it looked like Barron stuck his nose in, potentially out of desperation. The contact was made. The question is, will it be protested? All of these things which we're going to have to work out later. But crucially, this should lift Boland up positions, and it does. Boland is now up into P4. So that means that championship honour goes back to Chris Boland.
Well, it does, but Boland has just let Luke Arpino through, who's wrong-footed himself, gone too deep through Cops, as now gives that position and others back. Flash of the lights and courtesy from Chris Boland, but one mistake from him, or indeed from somebody else that catches him, could still seal the fate of the championship. But Barron is too far behind Darren Beres at this point to realistically challenge, unless the Aston makes a mistake towards the top. We will see, but there he is. He's led all race long pretty much, but under so much pressure has Darren Beres. Adam Barron did what he could, tangled up with John Finch on one lap ago, but out of the left field for the final time of this season, your winner, the number 40 Aston Martin of Darren Beres. Aaron Barron comes home in second place, Ben Cullen in third, Chris Boland takes fourth, and the championship goes to the number 86 Aston Martin. James King recovered to fifth position in the end of the BMW. Bradley Cropp sixth, then can steal seventh, Luke Arpino eighth. John Finch down to ninth in the end, with Peter Plastow rounding out the top 10.
What a way to finish a superb season. I mean, fantastic racing throughout, and this race did not fail to deliver. We didn't know who was going to win that one until the final lap. We also, against all the odds, saw a bit of a championship scare there towards the end for Boland, but I tell you what, he's done it. The 86 Aston, thoroughly deserving of his championship title. Great credit as well to Adam Barron for putting on such a good show all season and getting close, but at the end of the day, Boland's consistency was too much. Boland's pace to win those races when it was needed was too good, and he, as you can see, is delighted, flashing the lights, and we can't wait to speak to our new champion.
Absolutely. So what a fantastic season it's been. We've had thrills and spills from every track we've visited, but by and large, the driving standards have been absolutely exemplary, and it has given us a superb season. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We hope those of you that have watched either live or post-event have enjoyed it as much as we have, as we wait for our Podium 3 to come and join, or it'll be Podium 3 and hopefully our new champion-elect will come and join us. They don't have to, but it is always nice to have a chat with our drivers. Well, it would be good to hear from Darren Beres again. He was very pleased with himself when he claimed the win, which was, where was it last time? It was Alton Park. It was the Alton Park reverse race that we got to chat to him.
Yeah, it would be great to speak to him again. I believe we have some drivers now waiting, so I don't know who you want to speak to first, Chris, but I'll let you decide.
That's going to be a really good question. I think let's go with I think Adam first. He did everything he could, but it was not to be on this occasion. Let's have a chat then with the man that did everything he possibly could have done. Adam Barron, are you with us?
Hi, Gungeons.
So close. So close. If the maths is right, we think you've been denied at the very last, but there's no doubting your dedication to that last corner of the last lap.
Yeah, it was a really fun race, actually. That was really fun. Just watching the battle in the head and keeping an eye on where Chris was, and then I think it was Ben who managed to get in front of him, and I was like, okay, we've got a couple of places now if I can get in front of Luke. That happened, and then I was just battling, trying to get as far ahead of him as I could, and then just finishes the smallest of gaps, and I saw it, I went for it, tried to back out of it, pinched around, and I don't know what happened behind that, but no, I was just speaking to Chris then, congratulate him on a really good championship. It's been a fantastic year, really, really good fun. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Does that mean that if we have a season 5, will we see you back for that?
Oh, most definitely. I've really enjoyed myself this year. I won't be racing REF colours as we've discussed earlier on in the season, but yeah, no, I'll definitely be back if there's a season 5.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Adam, I think it's fair to say that you've highly entertained us all throughout our what has been our 20 race season, and yeah, if we have a season 5, I would very much look forward to seeing you on the grid. A great effort, a brilliant season finale as well to come home in second place overall. Ladies and gentlemen, your king of the Porsches, Adam Barron.
Thanks, gents, and as always, you've done a great job this year, both you, Chris and John, and everyone backstage, so thank you very much for that.
It has been our pleasure, really has. Right, John, your call next.
Right, I tell you what, we'll actually speak now to our champion, because we've just spoken to our second place man, Adam Barron, and I think it's fitting if we speak to Chris Boland after such a phenomenal season and the pressure he was under this particular race. Do we have you here, Chris?
Yeah, hi guys.
Congratulations, you are unofficially, by my calculations, so take that with a pinch of salt, the champion here of AFVRC for the season. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's sinking in. That was an interesting race to finish off with. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think, to be honest.
I mean, based on my calculations, we thought you had to finish 6th to guarantee the title, but if Adam, and that was only if Adam actually won, but it did look for a minute like Adam was looking like he could actually win. He was making the moves, and you were kind of stuck down there in P6 and 7. Were you feeling a bit nervous during that one?
Yeah, so as I've sort of stuck behind, we've managed to get a good start, both of us, and I sort of stuck to the back of him. So I thought, right, I'll stick with him now. Ben Cullen showed a bit of pace and put a move on me, so I thought, right, I'll let him go. Stayed with Adam for a few more laps, and then Adam really started throwing put the hammer down. So yeah, I had to make a few moves towards the end to try and sort of keep within 2 or 3 cars. I think I worked it out to be safe.
Yeah, absolutely, and we saw the two of you pretty much inseparable all season. I think we were calling you that for a while, and it's just been awesome to watch, not just with you guys, but also with Stu McFadden and everyone else. It's been brilliant. I know it's difficult to find the words sometimes when you're a newly crowned champion, but just tell us a little bit about the season as a whole. Sum up how things have been from your perspective.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a cliched roller coaster. It's been majority good. I can probably forget about leading on some of Snetterton and the first time we visited Silverstone, but then I can think back to other rounds such as Brands Hatch last week, where everything felt hooked up and perfect. Throughout the field, it's been amazing competition at every race. Adam and Pete have pretty much attended every race this season, and they've been neck and neck, to be honest. There's not been anything between us. So it's been good to have sort of us 3 as a consistent, if you know what I mean. Sort of go through the championship together. I think it would have been nice if some of the potentially faster guys would have been a bit more regular. But hopefully we can get that next season, and I can see if I can match what I did this year.
Well, it's great to hear that you hope to come back next season. We will certainly look forward to seeing you in the broadcast booth. And just for me, well done on an amazing season. You've put on such a show for us in the comms box, and it's just been a thrill. So, yeah, massive well done. I'll check as well if Chris wants to say anything to our newly crowned champion before we let you go.
Not that you haven't already said, just congratulations. It has been an absolute pleasure to commentate on your very, very fine wins and podiums and incredible moves and defenses. Brilliant stuff, and I look forward to doing it all over again next season.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much to you, both of you, and the production team as well. Top job. And I probably wouldn't get away with it, but massive thank you to obviously my wife and children. And I'm going to do it to embarrass them, but Chris, Ali, Matthew and Jenna for watching me throughout the whole season. Thanks very much, guys.
Oh, you've certainly put on a show for them, so I'm sure they will very much appreciate that, and they'll be very proud at this current moment. So thank you very much for speaking to us, our champion, Chris Boland.
Thanks, guys.
Who do you want to speak to next then, Chris?
I want to have a chat with Ben Cullen, because it's been ages since we chatted to Ben, back in Knock Hill, I believe it was. So then let's drag across the one man that did manage to put some moves on our champion leg. Ben Cullen, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Hiya.
Hello. So it's been a while since we spoke to you. We spoke to you back in Knock Hill, where we had a double podium there. But, God, what a night to what a night to really turn up the heat on on our nearly crowned champion. That must have been something.
Yeah, it was two minds. Like when I found myself in between Adam and Chris, obviously I don't want to ruin their championship battle, but the racer in me wants to go forward. So I have to be clean and clinical and just keep going forwards with being mindful about who's around me. Because it's probably the worst feeling you can have is if you cause that accident and it upsets that championship in that way.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. But even still, it was a really good move down into Brooklands to take that position from Chris. Was it then just a case of, right, let's see how far up the field we can get? Or was it just a case of, like you say, trying to stay clean as much as you can? Your racing instinct wants to push forward. That pack was so close for so much of that race.
Yeah, I think you saw from race one, obviously everybody qualifies on merit, on pace, and the front two gapped away and got away. I am, if we're doing GT4s next year, I'm not choosing the Merc because I can never start it off the line. I always bog down and die, so it always drops you to the back and I have to battle my way back through. So I knew I had some pace to get through the midfield pack and get back towards the guys at the front, which with it being a reverse grid, the guys that are at the front are not going to gap it as much. And obviously with them squabbling and battling, it just bunched us all up. So I knew that if the likes of Chris or Adam didn't get to the front and didn't get to gap, then I had the potential to capitalise on anything further forward.
So then, with that, then are we to take that you will join us for season 5?
Yeah, I'll always be here and I'll always be racing. I hope that work-life balance is a bit more calmer, so I can participate in more rounds because it's an enjoyable championship and it's greatly produced by yourselves in the commentary booth, and the racing is the rounds that I have been involved with. The racing has always been good and clean, and there's a good level playing field across everybody. So everybody's got people to battle with, and tracks bring out the qualities in some drivers that they maybe are not so confident or strong at on other tracks, which obviously over the course of a championship just levels it all out.
Awesome stuff. It's been an absolute pleasure to commentate over your incredible racing. The times we have seen you, we appreciate that Service Life isn't always going to be so understanding to allow you to join us, but we appreciate your service nonetheless, and we look forward to seeing you in season 5. Great performance. Thank you very much, Ben Callan.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
A pleasure as always, and all yours, John.
Yeah, let's round off the season by talking to our final race winner of the season, Darren Barris. And I have to say, Darren, I called you that you were going to win that race, and you did not let me down. But it was not as simple as you might have thought, because that was an exciting battle.
That was hard work. I spent all of my race looking in the mirror and then trying not to. The couple of times when the back stepped out, a little bit of traction control, which gave Kingy initially, and then Finchy on one occasion a run. It's just a case of keeping them in the right place. It was hard work but good fun.
And that's, of course, your second race win of the season, which is a great achievement in such a strong field. Obviously, the reverse grid's coming in well, but you had some great pace as well throughout the season. So just kind of summarise how the whole thing's been for you, because we've seen you right in the thick of the action. You've not been at every round, but on your day, you seem to be right up there at the top.
I've had a good run. Previous seasons, so I've had to dovetail live racing with synthetic racing. And the two are similar enough to make them comparable and to make the simulator useful, but there's just it takes a while to get over the missing the seat of the pants feel about driving a real race car. So because I've had a paucity of live racing for the last year or two, just through circumstances, I've focused a bit more time in the sim, and I think that's really helped me feel what the car's doing through those sort of the fewer senses you get. And it just feels like this year, whether it was a combination of that and the GT4 suiting, just my driving style a little bit better, and I just felt sort of more relaxed and more I could feel what the car was doing, and that really helped. And that's and like I said at the last round that I won, it was about being in the right place at the right time. Today was all about putting the car in, as everyone else in the Discord said, in the wrong place, but for me the right place to just negate anyone's opportunities to get a run on me.
Yeah, no, it was sensational. It's great to hear some of the connections as well between the real world and the sim stuff. It's a fascinating concept, having these two things that are so similar yet so different. Just to, finally, just tell us a little bit about what's coming up for you then. Are you hoping to take part in this championship next season? Have you got some real racing stuff on the cards as well?
Mixed both, yes. I very much will keep the sim racing side going. I get, it's that opportunity to do something that you arguably can't afford or don't have the opportunity to do in the real world. Some of the cars you can drive on iRacing, some of the tracks I'm never going to drive for real, and some of the special events, the endurance events, are really good challenges. But this year, I'm currently working on my Westfield, which I normally race, is going for a little bit of a hiatus, and for this year I've taken on a project to run an endurance MX5, so it's 2-hour club enduro events with 750 Motor Club. That's going through a little bit of a fettle at the moment to bring it up to the spec that I'd like it to be, because it's an RF Motorsports owned car, and the aim is that I will, as a race instructor myself in live racing, I will coach other drivers through that team to help us in the endurance events towards the end of the year, so the Burkett and the Race of Remembrance, so that we're building that, the Armed Forces Race Challenge Live, which the next round is Alton Park in 1st of June. And then the club enduro, so take people from that sprint 15-minute, much like we're doing with the AFVRC, into understanding what the differences are to drive a car for a longer period of time, and what the mentality change in that before we then bring a team together for those longer endurance races. So that's kind of my year mapped out, partly for me to get out on the track and do a bit more racing, which I haven't done for a while, and partly to help bring along some of those youngsters and some of the less experienced drivers to help them see something different about racing, and it's not all about those little 15-minute sprints.
Well, as someone who has raced an MX5 and Club Enduro and races a Westfield, we need to chat a bit more after this one, but well done on your final race win of the season, and well done on your championship. It was great. That, ladies and gentlemen, our final winner and final interview, Darren Barris.
Thank you.
Wow, what a way to close out what has been a fantastic season here at AFVRC. I never wanted to end, want to do it all over again, but all good things must at least take a break until we do this for Season 5. More details of that will be posted in due course. But for those that have been with us live or post-event throughout the season, we thank you very much for your company. Thank you very much, John Monroe, for keeping me on the straight and narrow in the commentary box. A great pleasure. I thoroughly enjoyed sharing the box with you, good sir.
Likewise, Chris. Yeah, it's been superb. Thoroughly appreciated your company for these races, and just a big thank you to all the drivers, first of all, for providing the show. It's been incredible to watch. It's just great battles throughout the field and really, really clean motorsport, which is what we want to see. Lots of happy drivers at the end. So it's just been an incredibly positive season to be a part of, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully being involved again in future seasons. Big thanks as well to Steve Proudly behind the scenes for the production. He's done a great job as always, keeping us on the straight and narrow and bringing you the pictures you see. And yeah, just bring on next season. I can't wait.
Yeah, thank you very much to all the staff behind the scenes that have organised this for the 4th time running. And again, we'd look forward to when they do it for the 5th time of asking. Until we see you again trackside, thank you very much and good night.